Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the webinar. Today we're joined by Steve Kapuscinski from Allegra, who will walk us through the value of print marketing in a digital world. Just a quick housekeeping note, your phones are currently muted, so if you have a question throughout the presentation, please feel free to type it in the chat or the question box to the right, and we will get to your questions during the Q&A at the very end. Just a quick note about marketing and communication services. My name is Jess Larkin, and I'm the Marketing and Communication Specialist at Cornerstone. My information and Marilyn's are right there on the screen, so if you'd like to get in contact with us, we can help you flesh out ideas for refreshing your brand, so feel free to call or email us. If you've missed any of our Build Your Brand webinars this year, you can actually access those recordings on the Cornerstone Resource Center, which is on our webpage. This Resource Center provides full access to a repository of individual, employee benefits, licensing, commission, and marketing resources, as well as a full library of Cornerstone white papers. This is readily available 24/7 on the Cornerstone website and does not require a password. So feel free to call or email me with any questions that you might have, or if you'd like a quick walkthrough of the page. All right, I'm going to hand it off to the president of Cincinnati-based Allegra, Steve, who's going to tell you all about what's available at Allegra, today's landscape for marketers, customer journey mapping, and more. On to you, Steve.
Thanks, Jess. Appreciate it, and thank you all for attending. So Allegra is two brands, actually. Allegra Marketing Print Mail and Image 360 are what I call our visual graphics division, which of course are signs, displays, those sorts of visual things. And we're going to talk today about the value of direct mail marketing. Again, I'm the president of Allegra and Image 360. And a little bit more about us. There I am, there's my smiling face. We are your local single source for print, marketing, and signage services. We are an industry leader in communications trends. I've owned these businesses for about 14 years now, and having a great time with it. So, if you walk into my lobby up in Blue Ash, where my businesses are, you'll see this on the wall. It's a constant reminder that as business people, we have primary business objectives to growing our business and being successful. And these are, on the left there, create a strong brand, use it consistently. You want to protect and grow existing customers. You want to target and acquire new prospects. And of course, you want to keep your internal customers, your employees, informed and motivated. And we have the tools and the services to help you do this. What does this mean for you? The best of both worlds. The responsiveness and service of our local independent company committed to this community. The resources of a large, experienced international company with talent, knowledge, tools to apply the best advice and best implementation practices to your business goals. I have lots of resources I can call on to help. If I don't know it right at this moment, I will find out, and you'll be able to know also. We can be your single point of contact for many things. Convenience, of course. This eliminates multiple suppliers and points of contact. Cost savings, we can manage costs through process efficiencies. An example of this would be because we can do something in-house rather than having to use vendors and other people to help get the project done. Time savings, also reduce delivery time. Again, we do so much of it in-house, and we can control the timeline on that. Accountability kind of plays into that also. There's no more finger pointing, because if we're doing it ourselves, then we're not depending on vendors and their timelines. So again, we take responsibility for it. We make it right, basically. Access to subject matter experts, trained in all marketing communications disciplines. Like I said, I've got a huge resource network I can call on to get answers if I don't have them. Wow. this is, what do we say? This is quite busy, all right? But we're going to break this down into these 5 blocks of awareness, consideration, purchase, retention, and advocacy. And this is a pathway from working from a prospect all the way to customers and retaining those. So we'll dig into this more, and you can always look at this later on on the YouTube. Okay, marketing. So what we do is we have got business to business, there's business to consumer, we have creative and graphic design services in-house, direct mail, email marketing, event marketing, promotional products, social media marketing, website design and optimization. And below you'll see at the bottom of the screen some of the customers that either I have are either mine or associates of mine that we have. Website design, we do some of this locally, but some of this we get from our network partners. Print, of course, Allegra marketing, print and mail. Traditional things such as brochures, envelopes, forms and stationery, flyers, newsletters, notepads, all those sorts of prints. We can do everything from helping you with the creative to full print, and then as we get into this more, mailing services. But then you can see examples of the types of things. But really, it's whatever you want to do, we can take care of that for you. And then mail. As a mail agent, we have address verification, barcoding. You see on some of the letters you get that have the barcodes, we call that intelligent mail delivery. The post office has that so they can track each mail piece. And we have the software to do that, which lowers your postage rates. Of course, in a mailing project, we take care of the whole thing, including delivering it to the post office, direct addressing. Lately, and we'll get into this a little more, but I'm seeing a lot of interest in every door direct mail, and we'll talk about that a little more in detail. Of course, we can do inventory and fulfillment, mailing list, purchase and management. And I mentioned about the postal discounts. That's because, again, we've got permits to do pre-sorting, which lessens the post office's work, and therefore you gain reduction in postage for that. Sealing and pre-sorting, I've already talked about that. Tabbing, that's maybe a detail you don't really care about. That's just because of certain mail pieces have to be sealed. And targeted direct mail, which again we'll talk about more. I mentioned graphics, including graphic design, of course, on the print side, but graphic design and visual graphics, which include such things as you see on the page there, vehicle graphics, interior, exterior signage, something as simple as some vinyl decals for your cars, or some very interesting visual graphics inside your places of business. Again, signage, storefront building signs, pretty much anything, again, in the visual graphics department. Won't spend a lot of time on that. Displays, again, if you do events or trade shows, we can help you with creating a display booth, acquiring and procuring the pieces you need for that, doing the graphics for that, and like I said, helping you work through all of that in a cost-effective and relevant manner for you. It could be something as simple as banners and banner stands, or it could be something as elaborate as a large trade show booth. Okay, what we'll cover today. Today's landscape for marketers. That very busy customer journey mapping. We'll break that down so it's in pieces, so you'll be able to digest that much better. Tips to brand, promote, and grow your business, and of course, a summary. This message is, I don't want to say old because that has a bad connotation, but it's this marketing communications mantra, basically. It's getting the right message to the right people at the right time using the right medium or mediums for less than what you can do through personal sales. It's really the mantra of marketing. And it really encompasses all those four things. Some interesting fun facts here. The average person is exposed to 1.85 million messages per year. Average number of Advertisement and brand exposures per day, over 5,000. Average number of ads only that we have some awareness of. That means of the 5,000 that you've been inundated with on a daily basis, you maybe remember or have some vague remembrance of 86 of them. And the average number of ads that made an impression, 12. So from 5,000 exposures to 12 that actually made an impression, that's a lot of chaff and wheat to go through, okay? Direct marketing is the type of advertising campaign that seeks to elicit an action such as an order, a visit to a store, a website, or request for further information from a selected group of consumers in response to a communication from the marketer. Basically, what you're trying to do is get someone's attention and get them to call you. The communication itself may be in a variety of formats, including, as we're focusing on today, postal mail, of course, telemarketing, direct email marketing, point of sales interactions, and there's others. And we'll talk about the importance of using multiple channels, even though we're going to be focusing today on print mail. How many touch points does it take to generate a lead? You may have heard a lot of things, but it's between 7 and 13 generally. And that's a lot of touch points. And it can mean anything from a voicemail to an email to a postcard. All those are considered touch points. And we're not the only ones saying it. So here are some links for information if you want to dig into it a little more deeply to see how we get to these numbers. Today's consumer naturally distrusts marketing because, again, we're inundated with it. They conduct more independent research and take more convincing before they'll buy. And I'm going to probably say we, because I'm a consumer also, in addition to being a marketer, and you all are too. So we distrust marketing, basically, and we conduct a lot more independent research. A lot of that's because we have the tools to do that. 60 to 80% of the buying process takes place before a consumer makes contact with a brand. I know I go to Google if I have an interest in something and check that out. Gathering information. We're evaluating our options, looking at different companies, drawing conclusions based on information we have. Here we are again. Inspiring your customers through their journey. So we'll dig into this a little more deeply now. The customer journey is going to vary based on the type of company, how your product is sold, but the general overview is still a solid place to start the conversation. So we're going to use this to help you change and make your conversation with prospects more strategic. Understanding the customer journey. So we've cleared out some of the detailed information there, and we're focusing on the 5 items. Awareness. Are you easily found as the source? Consideration. What is your point of difference? How do I, as the marketer, differentiate myself from my competition? What is the call to action or sense of urgency? We'll talk about that in a little more detail as we go through this. Retention. What's next? Why should I come back? What was the customer experience? Advocacy. We all love referrals. Why should I tell others? Okay, as I said, and you're going to see this a lot. It takes 7 to 13 touch points to generate a lead. So let's talk about awareness. So, from your perspective, you want to get in front of customers. You want to get top of mind and stay there. You want to publish some content. You want to speak their language. You want to understand their issues, and you want to show relevance. Of course, make an impression. The customer, you're trying to make the customer aware of you. You want him to notice you. Are they shopping? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe you've just been aware of a need. You're trying to make them aware of a possible need they have that they weren't aware of. Subconsciously or consciously, this journey's begun. And the marketing tactics there in the middle are, as we're talking about, cross-platforms, public relations, cross channels, I mean, not cross platforms, cross channels, public relations, print, radio, TV, advertising, keyword, which is online display, ads online, paid social, retargeting ads are online, direct mail, again, we'll get into direct mail a lot today. Of course, signs, billboards, and local sponsorships. Local sponsorships are good because people and consumers want to know that you're interested and concerned about what's going on in your community and are engaged in your community. 56% of consumers visit a company's website after reading direct mail. Did I say it takes 7 to 13 touch points to generate a lead? Well, it does. Consideration. Okay, so you've got their attention now. You're looking, and so from your side, you've got an updated modern website. You're keeping it current with new content. You're making sure that the content is relevant. It's informing. It showcases your value, and it establishes credibility. So again, you want to have a modern, very user-friendly website. The customer at this point is going to the website and learning more, might buy, reading online reviews, determining credibility. Do you have what they need? And they're judging you based on your site. So in the marketing tactics, of course, are the search engine optimization, print collateral, brochures that you can offer to them. Website, of course, we mentioned, content, videos, blogs, online reviews, social media, and then have a way to request information, and of course, emails, so you can contact and they can contact you. A good point is that 40% of visitors leave a website that takes more than 3 seconds to load. So this just reinforces the need for a good modern website and a good connection because people click through quickly. You know, we talk about click-through rates when we're talking about search engine optimization and conversions, and that's people that have stayed on the website long enough and you've made an impression on them. Okay, purchase. Why should I buy now? Again, this gets to our point of having an offer and having it a timely offer with a deadline so that they think, well, I can wait 6 months. No, you don't want to do that. You want to have a timeline for them so that you want to motivate them to close. Again, user experience that keeps their attention. They're probably getting ready to buy. They just want to make a few more checks and things to make sure that they've got all the information they need, and then they're going to be making a final decision. Some of the things that can help with this, we're assuming that you have a conversation going with them and you're getting pretty close to closing. So an opportunity to present them with more product sheets, brand folders, promotional flyers, and then there's always signage and point of purchase displays. Again, some of these are relevant depending on the type of prospect you're looking at. And then your e-commerce user experience. I think that's really all I want to say about that. Again, at this point, you're very close to closing. E-commerce sites can gain up to a 35% increase in conversion rate through better checkout design. I'm sure all of us have been on websites where we're going to check out and it just gets to be cumbersome and it's frustrating. And you may have even left the site and said, well, I just can't get the product, ordered because it's so cumbersome. Okay, you've made the initial sale. You've got a new customer. Congratulations. Retention, what's next? Well, you want to put together a retention strategy or nurturing. You've heard that term, nurturing. You want to be able to stay top of mind. You want to reinforce relevance and value. The customer is going on about their lives. Yes, they're happy with you. When the need arises, will they think of your company? So you're constantly educating and re-educating just to make sure that you stay top of mind. Tactics at this point would be thank you cards, more direct mail, of course emails, newsletters, either digital newsletters and or print and mail newsletters, rewards programs, promotional items. Anything to help send to them that or they use. For example, promotional items, we always recommend that if you're going to give a promotional item, it's got to be something that the person will use and it'll have at their desk. So when they pick it up, they're constantly seeing your name. So it could be a pen, is something very simple. It doesn't have to be that, but it's something that you want to think they're going to have close to them all the time so that they see your name. The probability of selling to existing customers is high, 60 to 70%. So again, it's definitely worth the effort and the minor cost of continuing to nurture customers rather than the expense and the time to get new customers. All right, we talked about advocacy, and this is where we talked about referrals. Oh, I just want to remind you again, it takes about 7 to 13 touch points to generate a lead. Do not forget that. It's a process, believe me. Some salespeople think, well, it's an art. It's a process. It's a process. Advocacy, how can I tell others? Well, you want to reward their loyalty. So the customer, you want to encourage customers to complete the surveys, write reviews. You want them to consume the content you have if you've got blogs or just, if you have Facebook pages or LinkedIn pages, encourage them to connect, and so they can then have you update the content there and they can see that. Of course, referrals. Marketing tactics here are online reviews, customer surveys, content sharing, online communities such as Facebook and LinkedIn, and of course referral programs. For me, I send out a digital survey, online survey every month to the customers that have purchased from me that month. And it's, I think, 4 simple questions, but at the end of those questions are some about how we did, are some check blocks for what are types of products and services that you may need that we can offer. And really the purpose of that is twofold. It's just to constantly educate them and let them re-educate them that these are the things we do in case you forgot. And it's also an opportunity for them to check a block. And then I can go on that and I said, you check this block on the survey. Is this something you have a current need for or something future? And it's just another nurturing touch point for a customer that's taken the time to respond to your survey. Peer recommendations carry 10 times the weight versus salespeople. Okay, direct print mail marketing. So what I've done so far is kind of given you the overall marketing landscape and the pieces that fit together to help you build your brand and build your company and build your business. Again, today we're talking about direct print mail marketing, and we'll get into some other complementary channels at the time. So, direct print mail marketing. Direct mail is now tied with social media as the second most used medium. Don't ask me what the first most used medium, I don't know. So, well, you can ask and I'll find out. But anyway, direct mail produces the best response rate of any medium. And we'll show you some statistics. Response rates for both house lists, 9%, and prospect lists, 4.9%, nearly doubled in 2018. I can tell you that when I bought the business 14 years ago, we were excited to have response rates from direct mail of 1.5% to 2%. So this is great news for us direct mail marketers because the response rates are going up a lot. The return on investment of direct mail increased by 12 percentage points and exceeds that of online display. This channel sees its greatest use in business-to-consumer campaigns. That said, it's relevant, definitely relevant in business-to-business campaigns. All right, 4 direct mail myths. Direct mail is dead. Direct mail is too expensive. Online is the only place to do digital marketing, and direct mail is too hard. Now, direct mail is not dead. I can tell you that from my own marketing experience this year, my inquiries for us to help with direct mail marketing for prospects is just skyrocketed. It's not too expensive. If you look at your cost per piece, it's more expensive than the mailers you get, the package you get in the mail, but they're all about reach. We really are targeted. We're trying to get very targeted because that's where we talk about getting to the right audience. So if you do that right, it's about ROI, not about your per piece cost. Online is the only place to do digital marketing. How many of us look at our emails and then just click delete, 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 delete? So I think that, well, the statistics will bear this out, that it's not the only place, and we're already seeing that direct mail is a great channel to use. Direct mail is too hard. Well, that's why you call me, because I can make it easy for you. We can do everything. I'm happy to meet with you at your convenience, and we can make it easy for you, basically, so it's not hard. An info trend study found 66% of direct mail is opened, 82% of direct mail is read for a minute or more. 56% of consumers who responded to direct mail went online or visited a physical store. 62% of consumers who responded to a direct mail in the past 3 months made a purchase. That's great news. And 84% reported that personalization made them more likely to open a direct mail piece. And we'll get into some personalization in a minute. We're not the only ones saying it. Print stands out. Consumers receive an average of 567 promotional emails weekly, compared with 12 pieces of direct mail. Print is memorable. Brand recall is 70% higher for print than digital, and print is trustworthy. 55% prefer paper documents because they believe they are more secure. All right, we all talk about millennials, all of us that are my age anyway. And a millennial is anyone born between 1981 and 1996, meaning the oldest of the group are already approaching 40 years old, with over 17 million being parents. 90% of millennials think direct mail advertising is reliable and trustworthy. 90% of millennials say they prefer direct mail over email when receiving promotional items. 75% of millennials find that the mail they receive is valuable. 63% of millennials who responded to a direct mail piece within the past 3 months made a purchase. Going back to what I was just saying earlier about my own inquiry volume increasing, the inquiries are coming in. These are marketing people who are millennials that are coming to me asking for help with direct mail. So just wanted to point that out, that the millennials are the people that are making these kinds of decisions. Vertical markets with highest direct mail spend. Number one is financial, which you all are. In the insurance business, banks, credit unions, insurance, loans, investments, etc. You have the highest direct mail spend. So institutions that are in this are doing it because it has a return on investment. They wouldn't be doing it if they were throwing money away. So again, financial institutions have the highest direct mail spend. I don't need to go through this whole list. You can take a look at that, but I just wanted to point out that this is a great way for you to grow your business. I love this screen. This information for me is, if I happen to be in a networking event or opportunity and I'm talking to someone and we're talking about our businesses and what we do, and I talk about marketing, I always refer to these percentages when I'm talking about direct mail response. The list is 50% of the response rate, and that's talking about list quality. So again, we talked way back in the beginning of the presentation about getting to the right people at the right time with the right message. Well, the list is the right people, and we can help do that, and we can go through that with you. And again, that's very important, so that you have the best possible use of your dollars when you're doing your marketing. The offer, again, we always say you have to have some sort of an offer. It could be something as simple as a free white paper, or it could be something, whatever, percentages off. We'll get into that, but an informational postcard that doesn't have a reason for someone to do anything is not very useful, because they're not going to do anything. They say, oh, that's nice, but they may not do anything. The creative piece of this is 20%. When I'm, and my graphic designers are designing a mailer, our mantra is less is more. If you think of it, you're going through your mail and you're getting a postcard in the mail and you're flipping through it, you're not going to sit there and read through a whole lot of small text to get to what the message is. So we want to make very short, highly specific information on the card with some creative that's at least eye-catching. It doesn't have to be, award-winning, but obviously we don't want it to be off-putting. But the point is we don't want to spend a lot of time on the look of the card at the expense of the offer, and especially spending time putting a good list together. And it takes some time. I can tell you that, again, for me, if I'm going through a list, even of my own customers, if I'm trying to build a good list of recent inactives that I want to touch again, it's a lot of time for me to go through those hundreds of names and say, nope, or this is wrong, or this is wrong. It's a constant effort to maintain a great list. But again, always refer back to this. List quality is the highest percentage of your return rate. I just said this. When considering direct mail, considering the who in terms of demographics, geographic, and likelihood to purchase. Personalized, addressed to an individual. If a business's customer base can be defined by where they live and median income, a saturated mail option may be ideal versus a targeted custom mail. And then I talked about the EDDM, every door direct mail in the U.S., neighborhood mail in Canada. I think that if you have a geographical, but targeted geographical prospecting area that you want to try to hit, the EDDM is the way to go. And saturated mail is really an every door direct mail. It's a way to to build a list of prospects. If your demographic, your target demographic is somewhat geographically based, and we'll get into that some more. And I can tell you, I can talk to you again on a personal basis about how that works. Types of lists: house file, that would be response, specialty donors, current customers already or clients already, subscribers. Compiled files, records are compiled from a variety of sources. We use AccuData as our partner for that. And this is if you want, if the demographic you're trying to reach is very specific, then the compiled file is the way, compiled list is the way to go there. How to get a list. We talked about a house list. Again, these are clients that you already have, or rent the listing from another company or organization. If you belong to an organization, you may have access to that list. Like I belong to the Greater Northern Kentucky and Cincinnati Apartment Association, so I have access to that list. Belong to chambers of commerce. Any member has access to their membership list. As I mentioned, go to a list compiler or broker and rent the names. We can help you with that. Exchange names with a non-competitive organization who market to the same types of audience. Several companies like Dun & Bradstreet, InfoUSA compile B2B addresses. They source them from these sources, Yellow Pages. I'm not going to go through the whole list, but there they are, surveys, business or professional organizations. And the applications are accounting, for instance, banking services, office supplies, printing, mailing, technology, and more. When we talk about selects, so when we're putting a list together based on demographics, the demographics are the selects. So a line of business or SIC code, geography, company size, location type, phone numbers, key contact, for instance, minority owned, is there a presence of a URL, and fax numbers. Those are your basic selects. And then to spend more money, to get even more targeted, we can go to such things as square footage, owns versus rents, growth trends, corporate structure, credit scores, those sorts of things. And those add to the cost of the list, but it does target it more, which makes the list smaller, and and keeps the project cost down because you are targeting much more directly. Business data advantages: targeted audience, high percentage of phones, high percentage of top contacts, purchase authority, title, and job function, and it's an untapped consumer source. Some cautions, of course: lower percent of functional contacts. That's perhaps not the executive suite types, but you're trying to get someone in an operating location. Those contacts sometimes are not easy to get. Depending on the compiler, the update is perhaps inconsistent. Information sometimes is gathered from a third-party source, which leads to inaccuracies. Sometimes post office boxes or street addresses are not complete or not accurate. Suite numbers are often left off, and phone numbers can change, or they might have just keyed in the wrong number when they're building a list. And then inconsistent SIC coding, that's really related to the company themselves, how I define my company by SIC code. So questions to ask your marketing consultant, as I'm calling myself today. How old is the list? What other company are using or have the list recently? Have used the list recently? What is the source of the data? So when we do a list, it's going to be built to your specifications. So what other companies are using that list? It's your list, obviously. So there aren't going to be other companies perhaps using that list. Are they using that same company, Accudata? Yes, because we use Accudata as our list compiler. But again, we're going to build a list based on our conversations, my conversations with you. What is the source of the data? We talked about that in the previous slides. When was the last major update? Well, Accudata is updating their files every 90 days. Is the list single usage or multi-usage? You can buy the list either way. You can buy it for a single use, or you can buy it for unlimited use for a year. And so if you go with the basic selects, single use is going to be X number of dollars. A multi-use or use for the year is going to be basically double that, but that gives you unlimited usage. And we believe that you should always do more than one touch on a mailer, on a mailing list. What other selects and how much are each? Well, we would get into that as we start talking through how you want to build your campaign. Is there a minimum order charge? Yes, there is. It's not that much. and we would talk about that. And there may not, and again, depending on how the list is built and how many names are on it, you're already above the minimum order anyway. There's no delivery charge for the list. And how often is the list NCO cleansed and re-verified? Again, every 90 days. NCOA is National Change of Address, is what the Postal Service uses. What is the count and order turnaround time? So the count is where we start after we've talked through your demographics and your geographics, and you say, okay, how many names am I going to get there? I then send this information, email AccuData, and usually within 12 hours, I've got the count back. There's no charge for the count because all this is them running their software based on our demographics and saying, okay, you've got this number of names and these addresses, and these are the zip codes they're in, and as much information is in that. I'm sorry, that's not the names of the list. It's giving you the count of how many names are in each zip code and area. The order turnaround time, once we say, yes, I want to do this, within 24 hours we have the list. What add-ons are available? Well, yes, as I said earlier, we can build a campaign, which is a telemarketing campaign, and we can, on top of that, add an email campaign also. It's more cost, but it's available. We talked earlier about personalization, increasing response rates. The green is a static, which would be a postcard. We'll talk about postcard or postcard that just says, has your information, has your offer on it, and it has the person's name and address on it. And the personalized is the red line there, and that's can be something as simple as on the front of the postcard it says, "Dear Steve, from what we know about you, we think you might be interested in this." And that's the basic form of personalization, and we can do that on every postcard. And it can get very fancy. We can do personalization so that the postcard, if it's going to a man, it has something that we figure that about your product that might be interested to men. If it's going to be going to a woman, then we can change the art on the fly as we're printing to reflect something that's going to appeal more to women. So that's additional personalization. Additional cost, but additional personalization. So you can see on the different market segments, the response rate differences for personalization. Again, the call to action. The job of your offer is to motivate action. So you want to have that as best as you can determine to be of high perceived value to the prospect. You want it simple, easy to explain, and as I said, delivered with a sense of urgency. So you want to have a time limit to the offer so they don't set it aside and then lose it. And it appeals to your target audience but doesn't attract an unqualified customer. So it requires a little bit of thought, but it's worth it. Types of offers, discount offers. Typical, you'll see these in your mail that you get. Buy one, get one, rebate, seasonal discounts, payment term offers, all these types of things you've seen. Promotions, premium on an inquiry, premium on an order, free sample, free downloads. And then for B2B marketers, valuable information, as I talked about, white papers, best practices paper, research report, a subscription to a newsletter, case studies, cost calculators. Frequency increases effectiveness. So I mentioned that we really recommend doing more than one mailing touch point because the first one may be just, okay, I didn't know these people existed, and that's something. Then the next one, oh yeah, I remember them. They sent me a card or some kind of a mailer a little while ago. Third, now they're saying this person's interested in me. So due to the competing media channels, people need to be reminded more in the past than in the past. As I mentioned earlier, and I continue to mention, 7 to 12 touch points over a 12-month period and it could be even shorter than that. I'm doing I just finished a 5-postcard campaign, and I touched the same list every 3 weeks, basically, and slightly different messaging on each postcard because I was trying to reach my recent inactives, and then names from a company I bought a few years ago that we hadn't done business with, and I wanted to educate them on who we were and the fact that we could do both signs and print, but there was an offer on every one of those, and there's several people that got the postcards, did several orders with me, and got several discounts, and that's the way it is. But again, it's a lot of touch points, repetitive message and offers. Once you gain a customer, then you must continue to reinforce and build the relationship. Examples. I talked a lot about postcards. They're the most inexpensive direct mail piece. Then you've got over on the right, self-mailer, which is a folded self-mailer, and that does have a business reply as part of it. More costly because it's a bigger piece of paper, but also on the business reply part of it, you have to pay for that. We call it an indicia, and you have to prepay for the postage for those, or you pay for the postage. I think ahead of time. I've got to verify that, but you see, there's a cost of postage for the business reply. There's a cost to get the barcode and the indicia. It's an annual cost. It doesn't have to be perpetual, but it is an annual cost. Again, they're a little more expensive. The nice thing about that is it does give you right away, give the prospect or customer that you want to retain the opportunity right there to return back a reply without having to worry about a stamp or writing a letter or anything. So that is a convenience. Postcards, like I said, I like because as you're going through stacks of mail and flipping through stuff, they're going to be eye-catching, and you can get your message out there quickly. Then there's also a letter package, which is the most expensive. It can be more, what's the word I want to use? Well, it looks, how do I want to say this? Excuse me for a minute as I think about this. It looks more formal, and for some applications, you might want to go with a more formal look on a mailer. And again, we said this before, who says print marketing is dead? Google uses direct mail. So if anybody's online, Google is. So omnichannel, okay, we talked about using several channels earlier in the presentation. Here's a quote, the world is becoming much more digitally savvy, so it will be critical to tie direct mail efforts to some sort of digital brand experience. So what does that mean? We use data to speak directly to your audience, so you get a postcard out there. You provide information on your digital presence, so a way for them to respond back either to a website or landing page or personal URL. And it gives your recipients a chance to talk back through social media. So, have your Facebook page address, Twitter handles, other platforms, so that they can have other ways to be back, to communicate back to you. Here we have some more data on how to improve your response rates. Print only, a response rate of 6%, conversion rate of 16.2%. 6% is a great response rate. Like I said earlier, is that when I was in business, started in this business 14 years ago, we were happy to see a response rate of 2% on print only direct mail. Print and email, 7.6 and 18. And then you can see that where the others, print, email, landing pages, personal URLs, mobile marketing, 8.7 and 19%. In summary, personalization is here to stay. You can segment your market to provide truly unique offers. Again, when we talked about variable data and personalization, you could have an offer that is tailored to this type of audience on one postcard, and the very next postcard as we're printing this, can be a different demographic and a different offer that targets that particular person much better, or what you think you know about that person. Automation and data intelligence help solve when and to sell to whom. Integrate with other channels. Again, as we said just earlier, a couple slides back, integrate the technologies so that you're using print, possibly to get their attention and have them respond back on other media. Think mobile. Mobile is really becoming more and more the way to do local searches for things. Engagement. Think of new ways to stand out. Multiple responsive devices. Give consumers options to increase response rates. So again, if you make sure that you've got a mobile optimized website so that when people are on their mobile devices and they click on your website, it's going to be responsive to the mobile device. Direct mail benefits. High attention value, so you want to engage them quickly. Highly selective, less waste. Again, that goes back to what we're talking about here is highly targeted lists, not about reach, about target. Greater creative control for greater impact. So flexible formats. I showed you the different types of direct mailers that can go out, and also the different ways of personalization to help even make it more flexible. Timing control, short lead time. So once we have a card or a mailer designed and we've got the list in our hands, we can have this turned around in 5 to 7 days, if not shorter. So it's very quick to turn around to control the timing on a direct mailing campaign. Long shelf life. Measurable return on investment. More data equals more intelligence. Again, we talked about this right in the beginning. The right message to the right person, the right channel, the right time. Understand your customer's buying journey. Content is king at every touch point. Get to know your customers and where to find more. Before I say thank you, well, I'll say thank you for listening, but I did want to go back to, let me see if I can go back here. Bear with me a moment. Let's see, where was that? Well, I want to talk a bit about personal URLs. You may have gotten a mailer, and they tend to be postcards. You may have gotten a mailer in the mail, and at the bottom or somewhere on the postcard it says, "Dear Steve, respond back to Steve at some website address." And so if you go to that, and that's a personal URL. It's your own personal landing page, which is tailored to you. So then when you go to that URL, you go to a landing page that has questions and responses, request responses that you can fill out. And again, we know from that, when you visit that, or when the client or prospect visits that set of landing pages, we know exactly when that person hit that page, how many pages that person went through. We got all these analytics that we can help, we can share with you, or you have the ability to have, and so you know what happened and who went to the URLs, and you've got contact information. So it gives you a chance to respond back to them. So that's what a personal URL is. And that's how it can be effective. And that's why it's got the high response rates, because once they click to that page, you're already gathering more information about them. So I went through this. Let me just go to Okay, thank you very much for listening. I appreciate you taking the time to be with me and giving me this opportunity to speak out about marketing. We're here to help you. Here's my contact information. Feel free to call me or email me at any time.
All right, thank you, Steve. We have a couple minutes here for some questions, but something that I did want to talk about before getting started with some questions was this, the customer journey mapping was really great, and I encourage everybody to think about your own journey when you think about the brands that you work with personally. What works when you're communicating with people that you're purchasing from, and think about the process of what you go through and what's successful with other brands trying to get you to buy their products as well. And I think that's extremely helpful to get you started on exactly how you want to get your own voice out there to your customers. So just think about your own customer buying journey when you're working with other brands. Okay, so I have a couple of questions here. The first is that you discussed having a lot of ads that you're inundated with day to day, and you talked a little bit about this, but can you talk a little bit more about how you can get your direct mail piece to stand out above the 7 others that you're receiving that day? What can you do as far as creatives, or what can you do to actually have that person hold on to yours rather than the others?
Okay, so if you go back to if you think about the page that had the different mailers in it, in the upper left-hand corner was several postcards. They were all approximately the same shape. What we can do is, for the same price, we can change the shape. We can make, instead of a 6x9, we can make a 4.5 by 12, and it's the same cost, same postage, and it stands out more because it's a different shape. That's the most obvious thing we can do. Certainly, standing out, we believe, is less than more. So instead of having a lot of small content on there, have larger print, fewer bullet points to get right and very directly get right to the point of what you're trying to present and express. Those would be the two major options for that.
Okay. And you obviously highlighted the importance of multiple touch points.
Did I say 7 to 13?
7
yes,
to 13.
7 to 13.
So I was wondering if those different touch points, if you recommend sending out the same direct mail piece, or if you think you should kind of vary it and send different kinds of mail. So one time you send a letter and the other time you send a postcard, or would you consider just keep sending the same postcard?
Again, for me, I like postcards because they're easy to pick out when you're going through your mail, and I like tweaking the messaging. You've got the same list. The first postcard may be kind of an introductory messaging, also again with an offer. Second postcard could be something more that you say a little bit differently, either the same offer or maybe a different offer, slightly different offer, an enhanced offer, or maybe just more information. And again, the third would be, again, slightly tweaked messaging, and these are not costly changes to do. And if they're built into the creative on the front end, then you've already got the designs for the campaign, and it's just a matter of executing that campaign with the specific mailer. As I said, for this campaign that I just completed, I sent 5 different messaging postcards talking about the different aspects of our business that I was trying to educate the consumer on. And again, there was an offer on each one of them. So I'm a total proponent of tweaking the messaging on every touch.
Okay, great. That is all the time that we have for today. If you have any additional questions, please feel free to contact me at jlarkin@sierraandstone.com. Oops, there we go. My information is right there, so feel free to contact me, or if you'd like to get in touch with Steve, his information was right there as well. Don't forget we have a number of other webinars throughout the year with our Build Your Brand series, the Individual Corner, Tech Tuesday, and our special guest series. You can register for all of those webinars and any other Cornerstone events at www.crnstone.com/events. All right, thank you all for joining us today, and a special thank you to Steve for offering your expertise.
Would love to do this again.
Yeah, absolutely. And everybody have a great day.
Bye-bye.